Finally hit big serves. Playing tennis without a big serve is simply not as much.
One of the easiest ways to improve the quality of your live streaming setup is to use your DSLR, your camcorder, or any other video camera. The process to do it is actually super simple. To show you how simple it is, this video we're going to run you through step by step exactly how to use a video camera for live streaming. Hey, it's Justin from Primal Video, where we help you leverage video to amplify your business and brand. In this video, we're going to be stepping you through how to use your DSLR, your camcorder, or any other video camera next time you go live. And the process works if you're not live streaming and you just want to use that camera or DSLR as a webcam for an interview or for a presentation or pretty much any other online video. And while we're stepping through the process, I'll also touch on the point. This one is Thunderbolt only and Mac only, but it will let you plug in both HDMI or SDI cameras. Now, another great option by Blackmagic if you're on Windows or you're looking for a USB 3 equivalent, you don't have Thunderbolt, then you can check out the Intensity Shuttle. You can pick these up for around the $199 price point. Another company that makes really great HDMI interface units is called Epiphan. There's two main ones that they sell. One of them is a 1080p version, and the other one is a 4K version, selling for around $399 and $499. And the biggest advantage with these ones is that whether you're on Mac or PC, there's no drivers or software or anything that you need to install to get them up and running. So they are probably the easiest to get running, but they are a little bit more expensive. And there's lots of other options out there as well, but these ones are really my go-to recommendations. I've also used a few devices from Elgato, and while they work well to mimic a webcam or to be used as a webcam inside of apps like Skype. So yeah, check out the Blackmagic or the Epiphan. Now that you've got your HDMI interface unit sorted, the next thing you're going to need is a camera with clean HDMI output. The video feed that's coming out of your camera through HDMI is clean. It doesn't have all of your camera status and display and battery level and no way of turning it off. Now, this can be the case with all different HDMI. Your camera make and model with the words clean HDMI afterwards to see if your camera out of that camera interface unit and connect the interface unit into your Mac or PC, and then open up either your live streaming app, things like OBS, Wirecast, vMix, Ecamm, whatever it is you're using for video communication, whether it's Skype or Zoom or any other platform. It's just a matter of selecting your webcam or your video source to be that interface unit, which is your camera. Now, depending on your computer, which camera you're using, and which interface you're using, there can be some delay between the audio and the video if you're using a microphone that's not connected to the camera itself. So if you're using a podcast style microphone directly into the computer, you can sometimes have delay. If you have the ability to plug in your microphone to your audio, you can fix this if your video option to adjust the delay on the audio so that it can match your camera and stay in sync while running, but they are a little bit more expensive. The advantage with these ones is that whether you're on Mac or PC, ones that they sell, one of them is a 10. You can pick these up SDI cameras. Now, another great option, price point, this one is company that makes some really great gear for doing exactly this. I'm a big fan of the Ultra Studio Mini Recorder, which sells for around this video. But Blackmagic is a company that makes some really get the video feed from your camera into your computer. Now we'll have my interface unit or an HDMI capture card. Some ways to get the video feed from your camera into your computer. Now we'll have links down in the description to everything we're going to mention in this video. But Blackmagic is a company that makes some really great gear for doing exactly this. I'm a big fan of the Ultra Studio Mini Recorder, which sells for around the $145 price point. This one is Thunderbolt and Max only, so it will let you plug in both HDMI or SDI cameras. Now another great option by Blackmagic if you're on Windows or for a USB 3 equivalent. If you don't have Thunderbolt, then you can check out the Intensity Shutter, and you can pick these up for around the $199 price point. Another company that makes really great HDMI interface units is called EpiFan. There's two main ones that they sell. One of them is a 1080p version, and the other one is a 4K version. Selling for around $299 and $499. The biggest advantage of these ones is that whether you're on Mac or PC, no drivers or software or anything installed to get them up and running. So they are probably the easiest to get running, but they are a little bit more expensive. And there's lots of other options out there as well, but these ones are really my go-to recommendations. We've also used a few devices from Elgato, and while they work well for the live streaming side, a lot of them can't easily be used to mimic a webcam or to be used as a webcam inside of apps like Skype. So yeah, check out the Blackmagic or the EpiFan. Now you've got your HDMI interface unit sorted, the next thing you're going to need is a camera with clean HDMI output. So the video feed that's coming out of your camera through HDMI is clean. It doesn't have all of your camera status and display and battery level and record time and all that information. Some cameras actually output that through HDMI with no way of turning it off. Now, this can be the case with all different brands of cameras, but there are a lot of Canon cameras specifically that don't give you that clean HDMI output or video feed without all your camera data on it. Now, this isn't the case for most cameras, but you will want to do a quick Google search for your camera make and model with the words clean HDMI afterwards to see if your camera actually has clean HDMI output. Otherwise, the video feed or all the video footage you're going to get out of that camera while you're live streaming will have all of your camera data on it too. The next step then is to connect everything up. So plug your camera into your interface unit and connect the interface unit into your Mac or PC. And then open up either your live streaming app, things like OBS, Wirecast, vMix, Ecamm, whatever it is you're using to live stream, or whatever it is you're using for video communication, whether it's Skype or Zoom or any other platform. Then it's just a matter of selecting your webcam or video source to be that interface unit, which is your camera. Now, depending on your computer, which camera you're using, and which interface you're using, there can be
കുറുപ്പിന് മുട്ടും ലേഖയ്ക്ക് ആങ്കിളും can barely
move. Oh. I think they're a little more older than they look.
he's 75.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't look it. He looks as in his late 60s or something.
that on the screen. You receive two messages on the screen. At the other end, connect the camcorder computer. First, let's use the USB I would like to show you how to connect the camcorder 3G8 to the computer. First, let's use the USB cable.
Good one,
One
good one.
end connect the computer, and the other end connect the camcorder. Okay. Turn on the screen. See two messengers on the screen. MSDC, DC camera. The first MSDC, choose this one, and then press the photo key here. Okay, now just enter into the storage device. You can check the data on the computer now. Okay, let's turn off, camera off. Turn on.
Having trouble falling or staying asleep? Maybe you should talk to your doctor about Belsomni.
Hey everybody, it's Blindside, and I figured I would start off this review vlog style because we're reviewing a camcorder today. This is the Canon HFR82, and this is their relatively affordable consumer line of camcorders that we're going to be taking a closer look at today. This is their lower-end consumer line of camcorders, but this is the most expensive one in that line. It costs $400 as you see it. Interestingly enough, though, they make one at $250 that is pretty much the same camera, just lacking two features that may or may not be important to you. So I'll cover that stuff up front, show you how the camera looks and works, and then we'll take a look at some of the other features of it here in this review. Now, I do want to mention, in the interest of full disclosure, this came in free of charge through the Amazon Vine program. However, all the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Nobody is paying for this review, and no one is reviewing this content before it is posted. Now, before we get into the hardware overview, I do want to point out the model number here. This is the HFR82, as I mentioned. Last year's model was the HFR72. The year before that, it was 62. These are all the same camera. The sensors are the same, I believe. The quality is going to be the same out of them. They're great camcorders, but they really haven't changed them all that much over the last couple of years ago. So, a very slow USB 2.0 connection. So just taking out the SD card slot here. We have a couple of years ago about how to do that. So if you want a clean HDMI output, it will do that. It will not go output HDMI and record at the same time. So you lose the output from the HDMI when you push the record button. It's got a very old USB connector here. This is the mini USB. Not much for ports here. We've got the HDMI out. For the most part, you can see with that rock up, it's the same camera we remember from before. One of the nice things about a camcorder over a smartphone is that you get a zoom, and it's got a very nice zoom, and that zoom is coupled with a really nice stabilizer too. So you can zoom in all the way on something, and it will stay very stable. You have to keep your hand steady to some degree, but it does a very good job of keeping what you want in frame for the most part. You can see with that rock I was shooting there, it really zoomed in pretty far and held the shot quite well. I've been very impressed with the stabilizers on these cameras over the last couple of years. But again, if you can find an earlier model, you'll get the same performance out of it. Not much for ports here. We've got the HDMI output, which I have running through my computer right now. We do, of course, have this stuff on screen at the moment, but you can turn all that stuff off. I did a video a couple of years ago about how to do that. So if you want a clean HDMI output, it will do that. It will not go output HDMI and record at the same time. So you lose the output from the HDMI when you push the record button. It's got a very old USB connector here. This is the mini USB. They do give you a cable in the box for transferring images over. It is kind of a clunky process to transfer images out of this camera, and I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But it does have a mic input, which I think is very important in any camcorder, especially for aspiring YouTube creators. You also have AV out. It will still output analog video, I believe, to standard definition television. Still got one of those. You have an on-off button here, so you can leave the screen open and turn off the device, and you can switch into playback mode here by hitting the play button. There's an SD card slot here because you can put in external SD cards to make your workflow a little faster. And this particular model has 32 gigabytes of storage. I believe the HFR 80 has 16 gigabytes of storage, and then the HFR 800 has no internal storage, but it also only costs $250. You're seeing a significant price difference between the models that have internal storage versus those that don't. And I think if you are looking for a faster workflow, the SD card is much better than the internal storage because you have to plug the camera into the computer every time to extract over its very slow USB 2.0 connection. So just taking out the SD card is a heck of a lot. I think you will probably get by just fine with the $250 model if you don't need pack-in battery. They're not a nickel and dime. Sounds like over here is the lens cover. It is not automatic, so if you're this in for a long duration recording, I would suggest bringing an extension cord because it is a very like focusing and white balance. But everything I can see with this camera for this model year, video file to drop into your. You can see that USB light there flashing, and if we go back to the computer now, we can see the Canon camera is available. So they got rid of ABC 8. Have long formats of video coming into it. So I think USB cable here. Now it's funny, a lot of people have written to me about this over the years, is that it's not finding the camera in my video editing software, and that is because you have to click the play button here on the camera to switch it into that mode. So when the USB is connected and hooked up to a computer, it should detect that it's in USB mode here. You can see that USB light there flashing, and if we go back to the computer now, we can see the Canon camera is available. So they got rid of ABC HD. They're shooting MP4 only, but you can't just drag the files off the camera like you would from the memory card because they just didn't make that change to the camera. So it has to be plugged into video editing software or some kind of photo transfer utility. It just doesn't show up as a USB drive like many other cameras do, which is why I really think, I'm not sure if it's going to, for people that are shooting long form video, is that this is probably not the camcorder for set in August.
Ever wish you had someone to talk to about money? I'm Michelle, a financial health banker, and I help people with money questions. If you have a question about money, learn how I can help with personalized financial solutions.
Which will automatically determine what the best exposure and color balance.
If I get an HDMI cable, it might work. I'm good with that.
Welcome to Extras and Movies. I'm Mario Lopez. This is your ultimate guide to the film still in theaters and right now available in your movies like Alita Battle Angel, directed by Robert
What are you looking?
Hmm?
Let's see Fox do something.
Defied Congress when it came to subpoenas was in danger of impeachment. Here you are back then.
You're becoming the judge and jury. It is not your job to tell us what we need. It is your job to comply with the things we need to provide oversight over you.
Question: why is it an impeachable offense for Clinton or Nixon back then to ignore congressional subpoenas, but it's okay for President Trump to do now?
Well, there's two things here. The Mueller investigation was a special counsel appointed to find out if the president committed a crime, if he colluded with the Russians, if he obstructed justice. The president gave him 1.4 million documents to Mueller. Everybody around the president was allowed to testify. He never claimed executive privilege. He complied, no cover up, worked with Mueller. Mueller's the final word on this for me. So if Clinton had stiff Ken Starr, that's different. What Nadler's doing is trying to destroy the president and his family. If I were the president, I'd fight back against this political revenge coming out of the House. Mueller was the man of the law. Mueller was an independent voice that we all trusted to be fair. I don't trust House Democrats to be fair. They're trying to redo the Mueller report. They're trying to make up other stuff. And at the end of the day, it will be political suicide for them to impeach. If I were the president, I would fight Nadler tooth and nail. I'm glad he cooperated with Mueller. That's the difference.
As we have reported, the president today, I don't know, maybe it was today, maybe it was yesterday, his time differences with Japan confused me. The president tweeted this, and I want to put it up on the screen. North Korea fired off some small weapons, which disturbed some of my people and others, but not me. I have confidence that Chairman Kim will keep his promise to me. Do you share the president's confidence in Kim? And how do you square that with the fact that his own national security advisor, President's national security advisor, John Bolton, said just the day before that the firing of these missiles was a violation of UN resolutions?
I don't think it's remotely possible that Chairman Kim will give up his nuclear weapons until he feels the threat to do so. I'm glad the president is engaging him. All those before President Trump failed on their watch, and President Trump has finally got Kim Jong-un's attention. But I'm not naive about this. I think they're trying to run out the clock on President Trump. The only way Kim will give up his nuclear weapons if he believes he's better off without them. And you've got to make the threat of military force real if he continues to develop missiles and bombs directed at America. What we do in Venezuela and what we do in Iran will make a difference as to how Kim reacts to us in North Korea.
I want to get to both of those troubled spots in a moment, but just to go back, you say that he needs to, in effect, present a threat to Kim. So what good does it do, or do you think it was a mistake to tweet out that, yeah, some of my advisors were upset about firing these missiles, but not me, and that he has confidence in Kim to keep his promise?
I think he's trying to give North Korea some space to come back to the table and then end this. But like every other president, he's trying very hard to stop the nuclear advancements in North Korea. I think he's making more progress than other presidents because he's engaging Kim personally. But President Trump will be judged by the outcome. It's not the process. At the end of the day, did Kim give up his nuclear arsenal on President Trump's watch in return for security and prosperity? We're a long way from there, but I hope we can get there. I'll give Trump the space he needs to deal with Kim, but I'll remind the president that you have to deliver on this. This is one of the signature issues of your administration.
All right, let's talk about Iran. The president sending 1,500 more troops to the Middle East to counter the threat in Iran. And also, he says, as part of the counter to the threat to Iran, he has announced arms sales on an emergency basis, $8 billion in arms sales to Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Jordan. Any problem with the president going around Congress, and particularly when it comes to arms sales to Saudi Arabia, continuing to do business with the regime that slaughtered Jamal Khashoggi?
Yeah, I've got a real problem with going back to doing business as usual with Saudi Arabia. Jordan's a great ally. The UAE has been problematic in Yemen, but a good ally. Saudi Arabia is a strategic ally, but the Crown Prince was, in my opinion, involved in the murder of Mr. Khashoggi. He's done a lot of other disruptive things. So I don't support the arms sales now, but I do support American troops going in to the Mideast in larger numbers to deter Iran. Let there be no doubt, from my point of view, the threat stream against American personnel in Iraq coming from Iran, particularly Shiite militia controlled by the Ayatollah, was real. I'm glad that Abraham Lincoln is in the region. I'm glad we're sending more troops. And why is this happening? The maximum pressure campaign against Iran is working. You can't buy oil from Iran anymore without being sanctioned yourself. And the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the henchmen of the Ayatollah, now are subject to sanctions. They're a terrorist organization. So President Trump is putting a lot of pressure on Iran. They're trying to break our will. And this is an effort to deter Iranian aggression, not to invade Iran.
Senator, I got two more issues. I want to squeeze them both in if I can. The president is reportedly considering issuing pardons around Memorial Day, around tomorrow, to service members that were either convicted or accused of committing war crimes. Here's how the president explains it.
We're looking at a lot of different pardons for a lot of different people. Some of these soldiers are people that have fought hard, long. You know, we teach them how to be great fighters, and then when they fight, sometimes they get really treated very unfairly.
As someone who spent 3 decades as a military lawyer and then a military judge, how do you feel about the president possibly granting pardons to people accused or convicted of war crimes?
Well, it depends on what case you're talking about. I don't mind the president looking at these cases, but Mayor Pete said he shouldn't pardon anybody. I spent a lot of time in the region. We had a situation where we would catch a terrorist because the legal system was so broken in Iraq and Afghanistan, they'd be right back on the street the next day. That was frustrating to our soldiers. We also had a case where a young man went in and murdered the family and raped the daughter. That's not the conduct we want. Military justice is about good order and discipline and dealing with crimes. So the rules of engagement conduct, there are a lot of people had to make snap decisions under a tremendous amount of pressure. Look at these cases individually. Let the military justice system work its will. Make sure that every soldier is looked at as an individual. There was a time in Iraq where, and Afghanistan, if we caught a terrorist, they would be right back on the street in a matter of days, and that was frustrating to our troops. But again, we're an ethical force, we're well trained, and the military justice system is designed to maintain good order and discipline. Look at these as individuals, not holistically.
Okay, I got about a minute left, so I'm going to ask for a quick answer here. You had a tough article in the Wall Street Journal this week in which you said that the U.S. really needs to get much tougher in Venezuela. You said we need to order Cuba to get all of their forces out of Venezuela immediately, and you even talk about the U.S. invading Venezuela like Ronald Reagan invaded Grenada. Really?
Yeah. Really. So here's the deal. We're being tested in North Korea, Iran, Syria, Assad's going into Idlib now. There's a lot of pressure on the Trump administration. Trump said rightly Maduro is not the legitimate leader of Venezuela. The entire region supports the Trump approach that Guaido is the legitimate leader. He wouldn't be in power without 6,000 or 7,000 Cuban security forces in Venezuela. I would do exactly what Reagan did. I would give Cuba an ultimatum to get out of Venezuela. If they don't, I would let the Venezuelan military know you got to choose between democracy and Maduro. And if you choose Maduro and Cuba, we're coming after you. This is in our backyard. Trump said that he was for democracy against socialism, and he's drawn a red line when it comes to Maduro. If he doesn't act, everybody in the world is going to think he's weak. If he does act, it helps us with North Korea, Iran, Russia, and everybody else.
Senator Grant, thank you. We covered a lot of ground. Thank you for sharing part of your Memorial Day weekend with us. Always good to talk with you, sir.
Thank you.
Up next, Democrats are ready to take on the president, but split over whether impeachment is going too far. We'll discuss where things stand with Congressman and 2020 hopeful Eric Swalwell next.
This is a story about Jewish country. Jobs, jump starts, and genealogy. This is Bo Hampson. His family's been here forever.
My great-grandparents, my grandparents, my dad, and I was moving here.
Those are some deep roots. Now, Bo might have been the first to have to leave.
Until I got a jump start.
Doers like Bo get hands-on technical training provided by Chevron and local partners for jobs in the manufacturing and energy industries. Chevron, finding better ways to help doers get the right skills for today's doing. Whatever they went through together. Life well planned. See what a Raymond James financial advisor can do for you.
As a small business owner, the one thing you learn pretty quickly is that there's a lot to learn. Grow with Google is here to help you with turning ideas into action, putting your business on the map, connecting with customers, and getting the skills to use new tools. So, in case you're looking, we've put all the ways we can help in one place. Free training, tools, and small business resources are now available at google.com/grow.
You've got a great setup here, man. Yeah, it's coming together. I want to get a bar put in over there. You know any good contractors? Yeah, I might. Nice. Give me a bunch of quotes, check the reviews, and verify the credentials and qualifications. Then go ahead and book the best guy for Tuesday at 2. Ah, look at me get stuff done today. Whoa!
You can't expect your neighbors to do everything home advisor can. So to find and instantly book the right pro at a fair price, just ask Home Advisor.
How do you make a year-long celebration of MasterChef? Combine one large helicopter, a whole lot of fireworks, and the biggest prize in MasterChef history.
Hey, you, get out!
MasterChef Season 10 premiere, Wednesday on Fox.
Democratic calls for impeachment are growing, with revelations from the Mueller report and President Trump rejecting congressional subpoenas. But House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says that's what the president wants, figuring impeachment will backfire on her party. Joining us now from New Hampshire, Congressman and 2020 Democratic presidential candidate Eric Swalwell. Congressman, let's start with the new powers that I discussed with Lindsey Graham that the president is granting to the Attorney General to declassify all secret information about the Russia probe. The special counsel, Robert Mueller, was given 22 months to investigate whether Donald Trump had colluded with the Russians. Why not give the Attorney General the power to conduct this investigation?
Good morning, Chris. And also this Memorial Day weekend, I just want to thank the Gold Star families for their sacrifice of their family members. But Chris, what concerns me about this order by the president is that he is asking our intelligence community to essentially not do the job that we are asking them to do the next time they may see something like this. This is to put a chilling effect in place. So if you're an FBI agent and you get a tip that a foreign adversary is seeking to help either the Republicans or the Democrats in this upcoming election, you're going to think twice about that because you may be attacked by this president or you may lose your job. And if we step back and look at what happened in 2016, it may not have amounted to the crime of conspiracy, but I don't think anyone can read those 200 pages of contacts that the Trump team had with the Russians and say, oh, we want this to happen again in 2020. So I think, again, this is an abuse.
I'm going to get to that in a second, but let's go back to the Barr investigation, because some would argue if anybody in the FBI or the intelligence agencies did something wrong, we should find out about it. If they didn't do anything wrong, then the investigation will turn up nothing.
That's right. And the Inspector General is already looking at that. But for the President of the United States to instruct the Attorney General to do that, again, it looks like he's using the Attorney General to be, his personal lawyer rather than having the Attorney General look at whether there are still ongoing threats to our country. And you said the Mueller report, did not find any collusion. We should also remember Mueller did not look at the financial aspect of Donald Trump and his family's dealings with the Russians. That was a red line. We're going to look at that on the Intelligence Committee because we are not convinced that the president is not compromised. So this work continues.
All right. I want to pick up on exactly that because you were one of the Democrats leading the charge for years that the president, his team, colluded with the Russians in the election of 2016. Here you are just days before the Mueller report was handed over to the Attorney General.
I believe the president himself colluded with the Russians.
Yes, so the president knew the Russians were seeking to help him. And so he went out as a candidate, invited them to hack more.
You believe there's direct evidence that the president colluded?
His invitation for them to hack more, that's direct evidence of inviting them to collude.
Congressman, the special counsel directly contradicts you. Volume 1, page 5 of the report, the investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. Congressman, the Mueller report that 22 months looked at all the evidence, says you were wrong.
It did not say that, Chris. Actually, it laid out 200 pages of contacts between the campaigns. And because a prior Congress had a failure of imagination to specifically articulate a crime of collusion, doesn't mean a future Congress shouldn't say, we don't want this to happen. I respect the special counsel's finding that the laws we have today, and with the limitations of not being able to look at finances, he could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt conspiracy. I don't accept that this is what we want a president or a candidate to do. And so I've written legislation to put an onus on any
campaign, family member, or candidate, if they have this type of outreach, they have to tell the
Let's take a look
FBI.
at the one case you gave there on that MSNBC interview. You said, well, the president called for more hacking. I mean, seriously, I remember that vividly. I think most Americans do. It was in July after the hacking of the DNC, and the president, or then Donald Trump, holds a news conference and says, well, you know, if the Russians want to find those 30,000 emails that Hillary Clinton deleted, I'm sure the media would be interested in that. You can't possibly think that is collusion.
Well, Chris, what did the Russians do next? The Mueller report lays out that they undertook more hacking within hours of that. And this
you
is
think
just
that was
a
an
month
order?
after
Or that's you think that was an order from Donald Trump? You don't think the Russians were already
With the Russians,
probably already doing
I don't believe in coincidences with the Russians. And your last guest, he used to not believe in coincidences with the Russians until he got too close to Donald Trump.
If Mr. Trump colluded with the Russians, if he obstructed justice, as you claim, both of those you think, why not move to impeach the president? You're one of the Democrats who is not calling for that yet.
Yeah, and Chris, you just pointed out, no one's going to question how hard I fought while democracy's been on the line, but I also believe dearly in the rule of law. I was a prosecutor, and I know when I go to court, I got to have my pencil sharpened, my subpoenas ready, my witnesses and exhibits ready to go. You only get one shot at this. I want to make sure we get it right. I think that means first getting the full Mueller report, unredacted, getting Mueller to testify himself, getting people like Don McGahn in, and so we're pressing that, and we're winning in the courts right now. The president's outnumbered with the subpoena power and the court rulings that are on our side. I think that's the road we go down. But we're not going to do Donald Trump justice here because we only get one shot to make sure the rule of law still stands in America.
Meanwhile, we have this standoff now between Speaker Pelosi and President Trump. She accused him of a cover-up an hour before she was going to meet with him on infrastructure. No concern that if you continue to pursue this, the subpoenas, the insults, that the allegations of law breaking, that you will fail to do the people's business, whether it's infrastructure or funding the government or raising the debt limit?
Donald Trump is not the first president, Chris, to be investigated, but he is the first president to be investigated and not be able to work with Congress. Richard Nixon, Bill Clinton, they still had production while there was perceived obstruction. And this president is doing a disservice to the American people by just walking away from our obligation to build roads, green our grid, to work on gun violence. We sent a background check bill over to the Senate. He's missing that opportunity. I also want to say, Chris, though, that something that doesn't help this debate is the distortion that we're seeing on Facebook or even by Fox Business News by taking what the president is saying about Nancy Pelosi and distorting and altering videos of her to suggest that there's something wrong with her health.
I understand that it's part of moving your bones as a Democrat to attack Fox News. We have you here. We're treating you fairly. Let's move on, okay, Congressman? All right.
Yeah, but it distorts the debate. It's something the Russians did in the 2016 election. I just don't think that Facebook and the president should be conducting themselves.
All right. Well, we'll talk about Facebook and the president. You're one of the 24 Democrats running for president, and I want to put up on the screen the latest polls because nationally we have you at 0%. We don't. That's the latest Monmouth University poll, and you're at 1% in Iowa, which is the state where you were born. Question, sir, why run for president when there are so many candidates? I guess it's 24 now, Democratic candidates, and you're so far behind.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I'm from the generation that is paying the price on climate change. I took my kid to school for orientation last week, and I saw, while I was taking him to school, I was thinking about things that most parents didn't have to think about a generation before, which is whether he's going to be safe or not. And when it comes to our health care, we're paying so much out of our pocket today that I feel a responsibility to run. I was the first in the family to go to college, but I see that my generation is going to do worse than the next generation. And I'm going to do something about that, and I'm not going to give up. It's early in the race. I'm going to keep fighting.
Congressman Swalwell, thank you. Thanks for your time. Safe travels on the campaign.
Thank you, Joe.
Coming up, we're bringing our Sunday group to discuss President Trump's decision to let the Attorney General declassify intelligence on the president. Plus, what would you like to ask the panel about whether the president can work with Congress amid the partisan gridlock? Just on Facebook or Twitter at Fox News Sunday. So we may use your questions on the air.
Good hair doesn't just make you look good, it makes you feel great. I'm really happy because this is the first time I can't remember having hair like this since I was young. Viviscal, the clinically proven #1 hair growth supplement, is made for every woman of every hair type. Viviscal is the only hair growth supplement with amino acids that delivers nutrients to the hair follicle at each stage of hair growth. I gave it 2 or 3 months, and fantastically, it actually worked.
Something like Viviscal that works. It's easy to take. It's 100% drug-free. Priceless.
For best results, we'll send you a full 3-month supply, and you'll only pay $39.99 now to get started, and shipping is free. You'll also get our Nourishing Healthy Hair Kit, a $100 value, free. If you don't absolutely love your results, just send it back. And all these gifts are yours to keep. Viviscal is in stores everywhere, but this special offer is only available by calling or going to viviscal.com.
Coming up, President Trump and Speaker Pelosi spar over investigations.
Let's get rid of the nonsense first. You can't go down 2 tracks at the same time. We can walk and sit down and gum at the same time. I hope you can too.
We'll ask our Sunday panel what the few need for taking care of the nation's business. Next on Fox News Sunday.
What's on test driving now? Should it be drive, then sign, then drive again?
I think we're gonna need a bigger banner.
The Volkswagen Sign Then Drive event. This Memorial Day, you can get a 2019 Volkswagen Tiguan for $0 down, 0 deposit, 0 first month payment, and 0 to its sign.
Sarah's last mission famous I know.
Feeling good?
Oh yeah. Now I'm ready to focus on my project.